once again. Welcome back to Claypier on Radio. We're glad to have you with us as we explore what it is, what it was, and what it ever shall be. I don't know about you, but I am working hard every day to make my dreams come true. I am working as hard as I know how to bring to my family the opportunity that I want for them. I look to no one to take care of me. Now, doesn't mean that I don't believe in our government. I do believe in government. I believe there is a legitimate need for government. But we are on a course that will take us to ruin if we do not change that course. And I think everyone understands that. But what is frightening is when our political leaders stand and say something like this.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the internet, so then all the companies could make money off the internet.
As you listen to this rhetoric, what you realize is the sophistry. There is plausible truth. Yes, you have to be smart. Yes, you have to work hard. Yes, teachers are important. Mentors are important. But when you state that someone else made it happen and that government gets credit for all that is good, you disallow individual will. You take away individual effort. And if people can't dream, they will not accomplish. And history teaches that free will drives innovation, and innovation solves problems. And the reason that we have the strongest economy and the greatest culture and lifestyle is because of the free will of people acting in their own good. And when we move towards collectivism, we eradicate all of that history-proven human nature. Anciently, sophistry was used to give you enough sampling of the truth that you would believe something, but it wasn't real. It wasn't true. It wasn't complete. But you thought it could be complete, and so it made sense to you, and that's what the sophist would do. We are now so immersed in sophistry that it is frightening unless we begin to start noticing what's taking place and being aware of what it can do within our own lives. To tell a businessman that you didn't build that is pure sophistry. Such phrases have always been a preamble to something very, very chilling. Apart from the simple untruth that government created the internet so that all the companies could make money off of it, that's absurd. As one would expect, this kind of a rhetoric did not come new to our world. In fact, let me share with you a collectivist predecessor to this kind of a comment who stated, all individuals or groups are relative, only to be conceived in their relation to the state. Individuals do not matter except how they can serve the state. That was said by Benito Mussolini, and his fellow collectivist Adolf Hitler said this, our nation can achieve permanent health only from within on the basis of the principle, the common interest before self-interest. If the businessman didn't build that, then who did? I'm sharing with you a few of the words of an article I read by Oleg Athbezyan, a writer and graphic artist from the Ukraine. If the businessman didn't build that, then who did? Apparently, all of us. And if the credit is equally shared, so then must be the reward. We are all jackpot winners. There's no worries. We don't have to worry about the mortgage. We don't have to fill the gas tank. This rhetoric thrilled voters during the 2008 election. Speeches removed moral barriers protecting other people's property and established a new morality of forced redistribution of wealth previously known as looting. If you have and I don't, and I take from you, what is that? But listen to this catch. Everything in the world has a price. If all of us are credited for someone else's achievement, by the same logic, all of us can be punished for someone else's failure. Listen to a U.S. Congresswoman as she chides a president of an oil company who is unable to produce more oil because of congressional restraint, and yet she's holding him responsible for the price of oil. And if he does not function, in spite of the rules that stop him from functioning, this is what she is prepared to do. It's chilling.
What guarantees are you going to give this liberal about how that will reduce the cost of gasoline at the pump if we let you drill where you say you want to drill?
Did she just say, we'll let you drill?
I can guarantee to the American people, because of the inaction of the United States Congress ever increasing prices unless the demand comes down, and the $5 will look like a very low price in the years to come if we are prohibited from finding new reserves, new opportunities to increase supplies.
And guess what this liberal would be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing.
What?
Would be about
Come on, girl.
basically
Let me hear it.
taking over
Yeah.
and the government running all of your companies.
Whoa, you finally said it. And that takes away the motivating factor of an individual functioning on their own. If I cannot dream for myself, I cannot be happy. If my greatest dream is to merely be part of something so huge and so immense that regardless of what I do, it doesn't matter. I can't even conceive of that thinking, and yet that's what we're saying. We are part of such a greater whole that we don't even serve any purpose except to serve the state. That's frightening. That's frightening rhetoric, and it's not American rhetoric. American rhetoric is nothing is stronger than the free will of a free individual. Yes, acting within law. Yes, acting within moral conviction. Yes, serving their own good and the public good. Just as all individual credit goes to the society as a whole, so does all the blame when we look at the collectivist model. And if the entire group, class, nation, or race can gain moral authority because some of its members did something right, the same standard grants the moral authority to blame any other group, class, nation, or race because some of its members did something wrong. And we see that constantly in the rhetoric around us, in the sophistry that is used around us. We point blame and we label and we say, because of one person, all people. And we have to stop that. We have to say, because of one person, one person. Because one person did that, an entire class would do the same thing. And it happens constantly. Now, here's where it gets really, really strange. If nothing is to your credit, then nothing is your fault. And what is the cost of that bargain? Well, in its seemingly fair trade-off, we lose our rights to individual achievements, but we gain the right to blame others for our failures. Collectivism provides us with a sufficiently analgesic illusion of fairness. If you turn out to be a loser, it's not your fault. If you can find no success, it's not your fault. It's the fault of the system. It's the fault of the government. It's the fault of the other people. And then we get into class envies and culture envies and accomplishment envies and all of this other stuff that is tearing the fabric of our society apart. If you turn out to be less qualified than you could be, if you fail to reach your potential on a whim with objective standards removed, you can now self-righteously put the blame on those close to you or on the unfair system or even on the big, wide, and deeply flawed world. Listen to this.
A couple of things have happened. Look, we went through the worst crisis since the Great Depression.
The worst crisis since the previous worst crisis.
We are now in a process where the economy is growing again, and we've created 2 million jobs over the last 15 months.
At what cost?
But it's not as fast as it needs to be to make up for all the jobs that were lost.
Not saying when they were lost or who lost them.
The other thing that happened, though, and this goes to the point you're just making, is there are some structural issues with our economy where a lot of businesses have learned to become much more efficient with a lot fewer workers. You see it when you go to a bank and you use an ATM. You don't go to a bank teller.
Really? That's the validation for spending more money than all of the previous 41 presidents put together. There's always someone else to blame because no one has to take any credit. The problem with that? Ultimately, it will fail. When you find the guilty, the opportunistic politicians will come. The problem is they come not to help, but to help themselves. The argument for individualism and competitive private enterprise cannot be flipped, not without distorting its nature and its moral purpose. The statement, "It's my achievement and I have the right to what I earn," manifests only positive, objectively true human values, and we're getting away from that. Unlike its alternative, capitalism doesn't grow out of a dark, indiscernible mass of moral entanglements. And unlike crony capitalism, which is being played today like never before, a corrupt monster created by government intrusion into the economy, that's crony capitalism, free market capitalism remains transparent. Just like the greatest invention of our time, the personal computer, brought to us by free enterprise, capitalism has a user-friendly interface because what you see is what you get. As we move away from allowing people to be their best and permit them to serve this greater collective, we will lose the very nature of greatness that created the culture which we call America. You're listening to Cliff Huron Radio, and we'll be back.